The military mailman? No, it's not about the military mailman, if I remember correctly. I remember seeing a trailer about it. It's not what you think, man. Military mailmen are people that went on the front lines. Anyway, let's watch it. I don't want to spoil it. I remember reading about it like a couple of months ago, I think. Or maybe it was like a week ago. Yeah. Alright, 3, 2, 1, boom.
Delma, my wife and I have been talking about the problems we are having with the mail.
This cannot be real.
Okay.
The Postal Battalion?
It's not real. Nobody would make a show about this.
This is our mission!
What, are they the ones delivering the mail? What's going on?
And we will not fail!
Oh my god, it is real.
Oh my God!
Allow me to pose you a question, dear viewer. When you think of the heroes of the Second World War, what do you imagine in your mind? Could it be the first wave of British and American soldiers who went ashore into a storm of fire and metal on the beaches of Normandy? Maybe the Soviet conscripts, starving and badly equipped, who charged to almost certain death across the frozen, blasted hellscape of Stalingrads? Perhaps the Marines slogging through the steaming jungles and islands of the Pacific against a fanatically determined enemy? Well, if your answer fell into any of those categories, then clearly...
You've got to do better, Senator. You've got to step up.
Because as everyone knows, the truly heroic battle of the Second World War was sorting a backlog of undelivered mail.
Wait, what? I thought this was gonna be like about them running the mail over there. You know, at the front lines where you're getting shot at?
I can't, man. Like, what are we even doing here? That right there is the subject of Netflix's compelling new show, The 6888, based on the real-life exploits... Wait, is exploits really the word I'm looking for here? The real-life administrative task that was carried out by the American 6,888th Central Postal Directory Battalion during World War...
I mean, you could have made a movie out of all the women that were at the like the fight at World War II, like the snipers and stuff, and or like the women that had the nurses that live at the hospitals and had to see people dying and shit. I mean, no offense, I'm sure these lovely ladies did a wonderful job, but you weren't like directly involved in the war, if that makes sense. You could have picked anything else to glorify, well, not glorify, I shouldn't say that word, sorry. To enhance the story and the glory of helping your team or your side in a war. I'm sure the story's fine, I'm sure the work they did essential played a role. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but they chose the story for obvious reason, and anyone with a brain knows it. It's just weird and almost like it's almost like a kind of like a spit in the face. Really. It's kind of like a spit in the face, like you could have picked anything else. Like writing letters, like, okay, that's cool.
War II. And no, I'm not making this up. And I know this totally isn't how unit designations work, but I really love the idea that there's almost 7,000 postal battalions in the US Army. We don't get much fighting done in this here army, but goddamn, our letters arrive on time every time.
Well, that's good. That is obviously a good thing to have letters to keep morale up, because you didn't have, like, you know, emails or text messages. There's no delay, right? I understand that it's important. Like, my grandpa fought on the front lines. Like, I understand that. He wrote to his wife, my grandma. Like, really?
The gist of the show, and I'm going to do my best to make this sound as dramatic as possible here, is that by 1944 there was a massive backlog of mail to and from the hundreds of thousands of men fighting on the front lines in Europe. Naturally, this was bad for morale because soldiers like to get news from their families back home, so the army assigned the 6th Battalion to tackle the problem. And they did, by working quickly and efficiently to sort and deliver letters.
Okay.
I mean, that's it really.
Really?
So why exactly were Netflix keen to make a multi-million-dollar...
I've yet to see a movie done about, like, soldiers, like, women soldiers, like, the snipers, or the ones that shot people out of the sky, the airplane pilots. I've yet to see that happen. If it might be out there, and I might be wrong, but I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard of that. The Night Witches, I think that's what they were called, no? There's a few. Well, it's not a Netflix adaptation. Like, this is definitely not I don't think this is the appropriate story. I don't know.
Or TV show about it.
You mean
Kind of a nothing burger.
the White Women's Army Corps?
Well, is there another?
Well...
Wait a minute! He's from Breaking Bad! I'm sorry. I feel personally clubbed over the head with the fact that Netflix executives probably Google black females in World War II and look for anything they can make a show out of. Oh, absolutely. I do think that happens a lot with producers. They very likely do that.
I think you know why. Isn't it funny when studios are fully
We gotta
aware
fill
that
a
their
quota.
output's grown so ridiculous that it's
We're gonna tell
literally
you with
become
stories.
a meme, and instead of course correcting to prove their detractors wrong, they just say, fuck it, we're going all in, boys.
So I had to read a book back in school about a all Maori battalion, which was all native New Zealand people that were only Maoris, and there's an entire book that's about it. Why didn't they make something like focused on black men at the front lines? Why do we have to do this like kind of almost half-hearted like throwing these black women to the wayside? Like, yeah, we're gonna talk about how they sorted mail. Okay, cool. She's holding the razor the wrong way? Wait, you're actually right, because the grain is this way.
Instead of course correcting to prove their detractors wrong, they
Oh, come on, man. Are you serious? I'm sorry, this is completely unrelated,
so
but...
ridiculous that it's literally become a meme, and instead of course correcting to prove their detractors wrong, they just
There's
say,
a
fuck
clicker.
it, we're going all in, boys. Like, I can totally get behind the idea of telling lesser known stories or promoting the unsung heroes of World War II, especially ones from more diverse backgrounds that you don't tend to hear much about, and there's a plethora of stuff to choose from if you care to look for it. Like Virginia Hall, a distinguished OSS field agent who worked in occupied Europe, created an entire spy network by herself, helped to arm French commandos, and was the only female civilian to receive the Distinguished Service Cross.
Wow.
Or the Tuskegee Airmen, an all-black fighter unit who flew bomber escort missions over Europe and were credited with destroying or damaging over 400 enemy aircraft. Or Lyudmila Pavlichenko, a Russian sniper known as
Heard
Lady
about
Death
that.
by her enemies,
I remember reading about that.
who was the most successful female sniper of the war with over 300 confirmed kills. Or Vernon
a lot.
Baker, an African-American soldier who personally took out 3 German machine gun nests, a command post and a dugout after his platoon was pinned down by superior German forces and was eventually awarded the Medal of Honor. Or the Night Witches, an all-female bomber regiment
this
who took to
Night
the air
Witches,
in
yeah.
rickety old biplanes that were so overloaded the pilots couldn't even carry parachutes, who flew in pitch darkness and attacked German positions all along the Eastern Front. I could go on
Which is extremely difficult to do. Pitch black in the dark, no like lights whatsoever.
and on for hours listing people and groups who
Like,
fought
why
and often
not?
died for their countries in World War II and deserve a lot more recognition than they got, whose stories would lend themselves pretty easily to a movie.
There's plenty of black people that fought in the war that didn't get recognition. They could have made a movie about that. Like, why not?
movie or TV show,
Why
and you're
not?
telling me that this is the best you could come up with? Fucking postal
Multi-million
workers?
dollars.
I mean, no disrespect whatsoever to the real life women who actually did this work. I'm sure it was long and tedious and demanding by today's standards, but describing their story as heroic is a bit of a stretch, don't you think? It's not like they were fighting on the front lines and risking life and limb to deliver vital communications that would turn
And they were probably not getting bombed in America. I'm not 100% certain of this. Like, they weren't. I know that there were cities bombed in Europe, obviously, but this is set in America. They didn't bomb American cities.
in the tide of battle or anything. They were sorting mail in an admin building in England, and they didn't even get there until February 1945 when the war was practically over. Sorry ladies, but paper cuts and cold coffee isn't quite the same level of danger as storming an enemy bunker or facing down a German Tiger tank. Tell me, what else have you got in store for us, Netflix? The inspirational story of Bob from accounts and his attempts to file his backlog of TPS reports before the end of the tax year? Brenda's heroic last-minute push to have that PowerPoint presentation ready in time for the big corporate seminar? Larry refused.
We should make a movie about being a VTuber and how hard and difficult it is. That'll definitely get sales.
Using to let a shortage of printer ink stop him from displaying warnings about leaving unwashed dishes in the break room? Fuck you, Larry, I do what I want. Like I said, I'm all for recognising the lesser known contributions made during the war, but I don't think this is the way to go about it.
No offense, but them having a cleaning sequence is so... like, my brain just kind of shut off. My brain kind of went blank for a second. I'm like, oh, they're cleaning. Oh, that's really boring. I think my brain's gonna shut off.
To frame every single person who performed even the most basic admin tasks in the safest environment possible as a hero isn't just a disingenuous attempt to pretend that chosen demographic group number 2 contributed just as much as everyone else, but it's pretty fucking disrespectful to the actual heroes who fought and died for their countries. Those two things are not the same, so stop trying to pretend that they are. And honestly, it's tough to think of a better example of modern Hollywood entitlement and hubris, not to mention the complete lack of hardship and adversity faced by writers today, that this is what they consider a heroic and inspirational story. And as tempted as I am to watch it just for the unintentional lols, I think I'm gonna have to give the 6888 a dishonorable discharge.
I just think it's gonna be boring, man.
At ease, soldiers, because that's all I've got for today.
I don't know, it just doesn't look very interesting, man. It just doesn't look interesting. They could have picked anything else, any other setting. Yeah, very uneventful. Again, I saw this a couple of weeks ago, maybe like a month ago, when they talked about this when it came out. And I remember thinking to myself, damn, I am not gonna watch this. This looks really boring. But all the paper cuts, no.